Hey everyone, welcome to the IPS Podcast and welcome to another bonus episode of our show. If you are new to the podcast, these bonus episodes are a venue where guests can take over the podcast and answer questions that did not make it in the initial interview with them. I always have a wide range of questions for our guests, and I often end up leaving out many of them during an interview for reasons such as, needing to keep the interviews at a certain length, or because I found the question not exactly timely for that interview. However, I am still very curious about many of those questions and the answers to them. Therefore, these bonus episodes to give our guests an opportunity to answer the questions that have not been asked. Now, in this bonus episode, adventurer, lecturer, and two-time world record holder Kristina Paltén takes over the show. To give you a brief yet impressive bio about her, in 2013 and 2014, Kristina set two world records for running the longest distance on a treadmill. The first one was running the longest distance in 12 hours, and the second one was for the longest distance run in 48 hours. In 2015, she challenged her old prejudices by embarking on a journey to Iran, where she became the first woman to run 1,144 miles alone through that country. This led to an overwhelming amount of positive attention in the media about a country that many of us might have the wrong impression about. Now, the list doesn't stop there. There's quite a lot of other adventures that she did, such as her running 3,260 kilometers from Istanbul, Turkey to Tenala in Finland, and then kayaking another 500 kilometers from Finland to Sweden, her home country. Today, Kristina is also a lecturer. She has in fact given 2 TEDx Talks, written a book, and is currently embarking on a whole another journey into politics in Sweden. Again, this is only a short bio about her, but it does highlight some of the many impressive things she has done in her life, and it hopefully gives you an idea of the person you're about to spend some time with in this bonus episode. Now, if you afterwards like to spend even more time with Kristina, she has in fact appeared twice on the IPS podcast. The first time was in episode 013 and the second time in episode 029. Both interviews can be found in the description of this episode. Lastly, before I let Kristina take over, Kristina also has an online course on the IPS Academy on confidence and goal setting. If you ever wanted to learn the techniques, tools, and the step-by-step actions she took to win her 2 world records, to become the first woman to run 1,144 miles through Iran, this 2-hour course will be more than worth your time and money. In the description, you can also find a link where you can read the full course description, watch some of the preview lessons. If you do enroll in the course but you decide in the end that you do not like it, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee. Having said all that, I will let Kristina take it from here, and I hope you will enjoy it and that you will get much value out of this bonus episode.
So I'll start with where I grew up. Let me just look for a moment. I'm looking for the questions. Where in Sweden did you grow up? Well, I grew up in a small town called Piteå. It's in the north part of Sweden. It's 200 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle, and I think that gives a special mental attitude in one way. Of course, not for everyone, but in general purposes, I think I'm used to living in the darkness during the winter and feeling the incredible joy when the sun comes back in the spring. And during summer, it's daylight almost all day around, which is beautiful. And what would I say was more unusual about my childhood than most people? Well, in my mind, I don't think I had an unusual childhood. I thought I was pretty normal. My parents were politicians. That was maybe a little bit unusual. Not everyone's parents were politicians. And I thought that was kind of pretty boring because they were never at home in the evenings, and I would like to have spent more time with them. But today I'm happy about what they did, because I think building a society is something incredibly important. And that's the way democracy works. So if we want democracy, we also need to engage and do something. I grew up in a Christian family, and for me that was not at all unusual because it felt like all families around me were Christians. Of course, that was not true, but that's the way I experienced it. And what lessons from out of my childhood did I learn that followed me for the rest of my life? Wow, that's a really tricky question. And I believe that working hard, for instance, is a culture that I learned from my parents, something that I do. And it's very difficult to see things that are so natural that they are almost invisible to myself. But working hard is something that I've learned to see. And I think also to care about people, to give love and comfort, and to help to create a better world. I guess that comes from my parents too. You did 2 TEDx talks. What have you learned preparing for these talks about confidence? Wow. I really love your questions. They are very difficult to answer. Well, I learned so much from my 2 TEDx talks. I mean, meeting so many incredible, inspiring people, the organizations behind the scenes that are doing an amazing work with such enthusiasm. Going to Vilnius, Berlin, meet the people there, learn about the culture. Wow. I mean, if you have the chance to do a TEDx, do it. It's definitely worth it. It is a lot of work, but it did help me to develop as a speaker and as a lecturer in incredible ways. But talking about confidence, well, of course, it's scary to give a TEDx talk. There's a lot of people in the audience, and there's even more on YouTube. And if you do it well, you can have a very big spread of your talk. So I was really, really nervous. But I think what I learned from the TEDx talk was also that I can handle it. I mean, I am nervous, and still I know that I will do a good speech. And for me, I mean, it's been a while that I've been discovering that to do a good speech or to do a good lecture, I prepare a lot. I work my ass off, as I learned from my parents. I do train very, very well. I train in many different ways. I mean, and of course, it doesn't just mean training. It means adjusting, improving, receiving feedback, listen to different people, what they think about my talk, letting them give me different inputs from everything from my clothing to my body language to, I mean, things that I'm sending out that I'm not aware of. I mean, I learn a lot about everything. But after I've done all this training and adjustments and everything, I know that when the moment comes, when it's time to deliver what I've been training for, I just need to relax, breathe, let everything go, forget about, forget everything about how to deliver in a good way, because the best way to deliver an excellent speech or an excellent race or whatever is not to care about it. Just go up on the stage and have fun. So my TEDx Talks learned me that I can do this. I can prepare. I can go up, just feel relaxed and not care about the result. Just be there, present in the moment, and deliver. And that it works, and that I'm good, and that I'm doing it well. And doing it well and that I'm good means resonating. I mean, being in resonance together with the audience, feeling the energy flow between them and me, and see how they are filled with energy, with sadness, with joy, with gratitude, with all kind of emotions, and how I can really kind of breathe together with them, and that I have this ability. So that was a very fluffy answer to your question, but the TEDx Talks learned me I can do this, and I can do it in such an, so to say, competitive environment, because here I am to deliver a high quality talk, and I can do it. What have been some very helpful things that helped me to develop self-confidence and to be less shy? I think the most important thing is what I saw when I did my first world record. And that was that when I dared to be visible, when I dared to let people join me in this situation where I could either fail or succeed, and I let myself take the space and fill it up with myself, so to say, I saw that something happened in the people who were there, in the audience, in everyone who joined me on the treadmill. And I saw also that a lot of things happened in the 10,000 people that were following me on the web, and people who, I mean, when I was done and had completed and set this new world record, I had received 481 emails from people who by some way were involved in the world record or touched by it or saw it on the web or anywhere. And the most part of them were saying, thank you. Thank you for doing this, because when I saw you doing this world record, I understood that I can do this in my life. Not setting a world record, but doing something that person wanted to do, something that person was longing for, and being aware of that when I'm fulfilling things that I love to do and that's meaningful to me, then I am affecting other people so that they are fulfilling their life and doing things that they enjoy and feel meaningful. That was incredibly helpful for me. And it made me less shy, because I understood that letting my light shine was important in allowing to let other people shine their light. And my firm belief, which of course to some extent comes from my parents, is that when everybody let their light shine, we will have a better world. It will be more loving, more kind, and we will give so much good things to other people. How have you stayed well during Corona? And how have you made the most out of it? Well, yes, I did stay well during Corona. Mainly, I was spending a lot of time on my own. Being an introvert, it's not a problem. It's a pleasure. It was a little bit boring though sometimes, but I did take time to run a lot, meditate, do things that I wanted to do. But most of all, I did buy a house, which is kind of interesting when I'm a lecturer and Corona made it impossible for me to give lectures except for digital ones. which is pretty boring. And also, it's not the same market as for live lectures. So I didn't have much money, and I couldn't borrow money from the bank because they thought my economy was too lousy. But I had a lot of savings because I've been dreaming about a house for a very long time. So I bought a red little cabin in the woods by close to a lake. And actually right now I'm sitting in a sofa in this cabin. And during Corona, well, in order to move into my house, I did build a bathroom. I did build a drain for the bathroom. And I also built a kitchen. And I did clean the garden out of an immense amount of garbage. So I did have pretty much to do during the Corona times, which was a lot of fun. It took me a year. And well, now I'm sitting in my house, in my own couch, by the fireplace, and talking to you, which is fantastic. Is there anything particular thing you do when you feel unhappy or stressed in life that each time works incredibly well for you to feel better? And yes, of course, there is. I go running. I mean, running always works. It works if I'm so filled with energy that it's hard for me to cope, I go running, and then I feel, If I feel sad, I go running, and it helps me feel better. And usually I look at the nature, see the beauty. I mean, you can see the universe in a water droplet. It's just beautiful. And if I'm really stressed out, I also know if I'm really stressed out, I notice that my body doesn't respond well to running. If I'm really, really stressed out, my body tends to want to walk instead of run. And then I know, this is a big alert. Now I really need to calm down, because if my running goes out of business, so to say, then I won't feel well. So running for me is the medicine towards everything. And it also brings me joy. So go running or do something else that's physically active if it helps you. And I haven't figured out if it is the running itself that makes me feel good, or if it is being present in the nature. Or maybe it's both, or maybe there are other things that I'm not aware of or thinking of that helps me feel good. But running, that's my medicine.
Just a quick announcement before we continue with the bonus episode. As I mentioned in the intro of this episode, Kristina also has an online course with the IPS Academy. In this 2-hour course, you will learn all the skills, tools, and techniques she used to achieve her 2 world records and her various adventures, such as becoming the first woman to run 1,144 miles alone through Iran. Learn together with Kristina how to master confidence and goal setting in a course that has received an overwhelming number of positive reviews and more than thousands of students who enrolled. Now, you can find the course by going to theipsproject.com/academy or by simply checking out the description of this episode to find the link. There, you can read the full course description, read the reviews from other students, and even watch a few preview lessons. If after you enroll you feel the course is not right for you, no worries at all, as there is a 30-day money-back guarantee. With that, let us return to the bonus episode with Kristina.
What are some things that you notice a lot of people struggle with when we talk about living a good life? Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. Well, what would other people say if I would do what I'm dreaming of? That's a pretty common one. And what would my children say? So I think the relationship you have, the close relationship, is unfortunately causing a number of people mental troubles that keeps them from doing what they want to do. And I think that's sad, because if you ask your children, or if you ask your loved ones, I think the most common answer you will get is that they want you to be happy. So if they want you to be happy, then of course you should go ahead and do what you want to. And another thing that I think is really common is economy. I can't do that because how will I feed myself? How will I earn money? I also think that, living a good life, what does it mean to you? I think society, gives us ideas about what a good life should be. And it's very easy, at least for me, to adopt those ideas. When I was a child, I thought I would, study, get a job, find a husband, have some children, buy a house, and die, finally. It would take some years, but that was it. And this was not my dream. This is what I was taught from everyone around me when grown-ups were asking questions. How many children will you have when you grow up? What will you work with when you grow up? And these are closed questions. They didn't ask me, what do you want to do in terms of maybe become self-employed, maybe become, I don't know, whatever. It was always the question, what kind of job will you have when you grow up? Well, maybe I don't want a job. Maybe I want to do something else. So in my mind, I think there is a social pattern. This is the way you should live your life. This is the norm you should fulfill. But does it make me happy? I think each person has to find his or her own way, what makes her and him happy. Okay, some goals can take years to complete. How do you keep big goals fun? Well, that's a very good question too. I recently started to be a politician. And being a politician is something that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. And the goals that I would like to fulfill is to create a global, worldwide welfare system. Just the thought that people pay tax in Sweden for giving people in Sweden good healthcare, good school, and things like that. That's a very nice thing. But why do we have national borders? Climate changes doesn't care about national borders. Refugees crisis, and war, and the refugees are coming from climate changes and also from wars, and they don't care about national borders. I think we have a global responsibility both to take care of our environment and also the people living on the planet. So for me, it's very irrational that we do have tax systems that's only for nations. In my mind, we should take care of all people around the globe with the welfare system that we have. So my political ambition is to create a welfare system for all the people all around the globe. And of course, this welfare system cannot drain our planet out of its resources. So it needs to be based on an economy that's based on ecology. And that's a pretty big goal. And in my mind, I don't think it will be achieved until I have passed away. But I'm kind of hesitating when I'm saying that, because I think for for humankind to keep on living on this planet, and for the planet to be in harmony and to be sustainable, we need to change pretty fast. So I do hope it will happen during my lifetime. So now I started in politics, and the aim is to fulfill that goal. And I'm a beginner. So to fulfill that goal is quite a number of years away. And it's quite a lot of effort and work to be in politics, especially as a beginner. So how do I keep it fun? Well, I need to keep a distance to myself. I do mistakes. There's so many things that seem so serious and so important. But I do need to keep a distance and just laugh at myself sometimes. Okay, right now there's a quarrel in the local newspaper about something stupid I said or something stupid I did, or maybe, now there's a quarrel in the local newspaper and it's about something that I didn't even say, but still I have to argue about it. And there's so many stupid things going on. And it's easy to get lost in these kind of moments and feel that it's important what I'm doing. But hey, it's not important. No one will care in 100 years. To just laugh about it. Keep a distance. Nothing is as important as it seems to be, except for my goal. But to keep a distance to myself, laugh about myself and my mistakes, etc., that's a very good trick. And also to relax. Yeah, I usually work hard and it costs me a lot of effort, but I'm not there to do a good result. I need to have fun. I need to relax. So I think this alternating between working hard, relaxing, because working hard, being in challenging situation also creates a lot of positive energy. And when I've been working hard and then relaxing, I can laugh a lot. So keep a distance to yourself, laugh a lot, have fun, do things that you like, that is fun. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. Do you agree? And if yes, what are some powerful systems you use in your life to achieve your goals? Ooh, that's a difficult one too. I guess it depends on what you mean with a system. But my best experience, well, I've been experiencing it many times, but let me describe it with one experience, and that was my run through Iran. My goal was to run from the border of Turkey to the border of Turkmenistan. And my vision or my hope was to create more trust in the world by challenging the prejudice I had about my own prejudice. And I also noticed that other people had prejudice about a single woman running, about a single Western woman running alone through Iran. When I did start to plan this run, there were so many things happening that were unlikely in a way. And I don't know how many people in Iran that invited me to their homes before I even went to Iran. And there were so many incredible, I can't really describe it, but there were 15 person actually who wanted to work with me and help me to communicate about my trip before I even started doing this trip. And I'm an engineer, I'm not used to communicating. But here there was a web designer, it was a movie maker, someone who was used to writing manuscripts, two people who were used to filming, and people who could translate, people who were good at marketing, and they all wanted to contribute to this trip. And they kind of just fell into my life, just like by an accident. But together we created communication around this run so that we reached 45 million people. And our budget was 2,500 euros. I mean, that's really ridiculous low amount of money. But we did reach 45 million people. And this was not a goal I set. I mean, the goal was to run from the border of Turkey to the border of Turkmenistan. But we ended up creating so much more in terms of trust. And actually, my purpose was to I hoped to contribute to trust in the Western world. But it turned out that I helped to contribute to trust in Iran as well, which I never, ever had in mind. So my way to interpret this is that there is a powerful system in use here. And I'm not really aware of the system, but I call it the universe or God or whatever. But there is a theory that's saying if I'm centered around my own purpose and what I want to do in life, and if I start working on this purpose, the universe will help me. And maybe that was what happened. So yes, I think there are powerful systems beyond my imagination that helps me not only to achieve my goals, but to exceed them beyond my imagination. Is there anything you did when you trained for big adventures or for competitions that you still do today in your daily life, even when you're not training for something particular? Oh, yes, there are lots, I would say. For instance, I'm running every day, of course. Otherwise, it keeps me feeling well, both physically and mentally. So that's one thing. But I think what I do in ultra marathon running is something that's very simple in one way, but very difficult in another way. And that is to turn thoughts. I mean, I don't know how many thousands of thoughts we are thinking per day, and some of them are negative, which in my mind means they don't lead me towards the goal that I have set or towards the vision I have about my life or the dreams or whatever. And some thoughts are actually bringing me towards where I want to be. So if I run a competition and think the wrong thoughts, which means the thoughts that make me end my race, well, it's not a problem to think them, but I need to pay attention to them and then turn them into positive thoughts, which means thoughts that brings me to my goal. So I think this way of changing my thoughts in the direction that are benefiting me is something that I've trained so immensely so that I don't even pay attention to that. I do that in everyday life, in every moment, in every second that I need it. I just do it because that's the way I'm living. And that, of course, helps me in politics and in being a lecturer, etc. And that's just one example. There are so many things that I do, but I think running is one very important thing. It keeps me healthy, mentally and physically, and turning my thoughts into the direction where I want to go, and also into solution. There's no point in digging into problems. I want to find and create solutions. That's it. Being self-employed is difficult. How were the first years of your self-employed journey like? Well, it was ups and downs and wow. It was crazy. I mean, when you're employed by an employer, you can think, it's very easy to think, when you are employed, your monthly salary will come no matter what you do. Of course, not forever if you don't do a good job, but in many terms, it just keeps coming. But being self-employed means you're responsible for everything. And if your company doesn't make money, you won't have a salary. It's as simple as that. And you have to be the manager. You are the HR department, the IT security. You are the financing department, the marketing department. I mean, the one who is delivering. You are the one who is buying the coffee. You are the one who is cleaning. You're the housekeeping. You're everything. So this was one thing that was a little bit difficult for me in the beginning. I had been employed for 18 years. And then suddenly I was going to make everything that the company had did by myself. I can't blame no one but myself if something goes wrong. And of course, if things goes right, I can praise myself. So some of the main struggles I had was that I was a lecturer and I wanted to do a specific lecture for each customer I met because I thought that was a good quality to the customer. And of course, that's something that I'm still doing and that I really want to do. But then to write the marketing material for each lecture was something that took a long time. And so I did create small boxes with information. So each time I do a new lecture, I just take the right boxes of the information, put them together in the marketing material. So it was kind of a modular system that I had to create to be faster in creating the marketing material. So I could put effort into doing a good quality lecture instead. And another main struggle was, of course, that I had a lot of months with no income. Well, how did I not lose hope? Well, I had set aside 4 years to start up my company. And I gave myself the time limit of 4 years to try to do what I wanted to do. And I told myself, if I won't make it within 4 years, then I'm probably not a good person to be self-employed because then I'm not doing it good enough. And not losing hope is, I would say, about creating an attractive vision or an attractive target image of where I'm going to be. And I had developed that. And I think a strong vision of what you want to achieve. And with that, I mean goal image that you can see in front of yourself what it looks like when you're there at your target, at your goal. And you can also feel it inside your entire body that this is the way I feel when I'm there, where I want to be. Such a goal image always gives me a lot of energy and it keeps me hopeful even in difficult times. So that's a good thing to develop. Final question. What are the 3 things in life you can't live without? Well, I usually come back to that relationships with my friends, with my partner, with my parents, with my sister, with my bonus children. Well, relationships. That's the most important thing in my entire life. I would be nothing without them. And I mean, this is kind of a philosophical question. Of course, I can't live without breathing, without air, without food, etc. But if we take those magical things, like a couple of lungs that are working, a heart that is beating, well, then I would say relations, being out in the nature, doesn't matter if it is by running or by kayaking or just being out there, is something I would not be without. And eating cookies. I love to eat cookies. So let's add that one as the 3rd one. Thank you, Jellies, for all your excellent questions. And thanks for letting me do this. And thanks to you that you are living your life in the way you want to, and that you are fulfilling your dream. You are really, really adding to the world and making it a better place. Thanks for that. Bye for now.
And that concludes this bonus episode with Kristina Paltén. I hope you enjoyed it and that you gained something valuable out of it. Now, as I said in the intro, if you want to learn even more from Kristina, do check out her 2 interviews she did on the IPS Podcast. You can find the links to those interviews in the description of this episode, or you can always go directly to ipsproject.blog and search for Kristina to find the interviews. Lastly, if you want to take your goal setting and confidence to a whole different level, do check out the online course we created on the IPS Academy with Kristina. Learn all the tools, techniques, tricks and tips she applied that helped her accomplish 2 world records, her run through Iran, and well, all the other impressive adventures she did. You can also find a link in the description of this episode to this 2-hour course that has thousands of students and countless of positive reviews. With that, I hope I get to welcome you again on another journey, another episode here on the IPS Podcast. Until then, this is your host, Jellis Vaas, signing off.